And good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to a matinee edition of We Got Next. I'm Rickey Hampton with former Milwaukee Bucks center Paul Mokeski coming to you on a Monday afternoon, special edition. Big Mo, it's good to see you, brother.
Can't believe you got a sweater on, man. It's like 80 degrees here. It can't be snowing there, can it?
Man, it is snowing in Detroit. May
Wow,
1st, we got snow, not just today, but tomorrow.
that's
But you know
crazy.
what? I still got 9 holes in this morning.
What was the temperature?
It's well, it's got to be in the 30s, right? We got snow. It's not
No.
sticking, but
Well,
it's
yeah. What was it this morning, though?
oh, well, we teed off
Yeah.
probably about 36,
Don't
37.
you? Don't you better hit it pure or your hands hurt, right?
But my golf league starts this weekend, man. You got to get it in. I got to get it in. Got to get the work
Yeah.
in. Hey, we got work to do. So we were out on the course this morning. And before I get into all that, man, let's be sure to welcome our viewers in who are watching us on We Got Next, live on Facebook, on the African American Athlete, and on YouTube. We appreciate you guys checking in. Love to hear your questions and comments. And Mo, man, we got a lot to talk about. I really couldn't wait for the show to start. I'm actually excited that we started early. I don't know if I'd have made it to 9 o'clock because a lot of stuff I want to run by you. Um, Probably starting with uh, Steph Curry's performance yesterday, and he literally willed the Golden State Warriors to a Game 7 victory over Sacramento
Yeah.
with
I
a
mean,
point.
Sacramento had a home court. Game 7, place was going crazy. It was loud. The first half was a battle back and forth. Ties, but nobody could go up more than 5 points. And I was sitting in my house telling my wife Linda, "Don't let Golden State get up by more than 10 because this will be over." And that's what happened. But in the first half, to me, it looked like they were just the Warriors. Besides Steph Curry, were working underwater. I mean, Klay Thompson was 1 for 10, I think. Poole looked like he was trying to force everything and show that he's worth that 140 million. Andrew Wiggins was a turnover machine. It was just a bad first half. And I know going into halftime, I've told you this before. If you're a coach and I don't know what it was. It was tied or it was really close at halftime. But if I'm the Golden State Warriors, I'm saying, listen, we can't play much worse than this. Steph, you're carrying us. That's great, but it's going to turn around in the second half. And not only did Steph turn it on, I mean, he was unconscious, but Clay hit a couple key threes. Poole making a couple of good drives. And Looney. We talk about this a lot, Ricky. How everybody knows their roles, but a lot of people don't accept them.
Yeah,
Well, Looney is a perfect example of a guy who sees where he fits in. He needs rebounding, toughness in the paint. You know, getting offensive rebounds and putbacks. That's all they need, and that's all he does to the point of 20 plus rebounds for 3 games in the series and showing his value. Hello, young players out there, you don't have to score 25 points to impact a game. Looney impacted that game. He impacted that series, in my opinion. But I had the Golden State Warriors to start the series. It got a little shaky. I've been texting Steve Kerr back and forth, and congratulated him on a great series win. And now a little short rest before they go in and play the Lakers. But Golden State, is making a push. This is probably the last dance for this group, right? I mean,
yeah.
Draymond's talking about leaving. Curry's getting older. Everybody's getting older, and this is probably their last push. And a team as offensively talented as they are, when you put that on the board, and this is our last push, and everybody knows it, that can get you past some series, including a 7-game tough game at least for the first 3 quarters in Sacramento till Golden State ran away with it at the end.
This is what I wanted to ask you. One, as a former player, 12 years in the league, years coaching, scouting, when you see a performance like that, what goes through your mind? Number one, and you are, not only did you play, you are a fan of basketball. You're a basketball fan. How do you look at it that way? And number three, when a guy gets going like that, from a coaching standpoint, is there anything that can be, are you at their mercy? Break those three things down for me, Mo.
Well, at their level, we'll go backwards on that. Is there something you could do? Sure, but I mean, I played against some of the greats, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, some guy named Michael Jordan. That when they get going, it's hard to stop. However, as a coach and a coaching staff, you need to have some plans because it's a matter of time before that happens with someone like Steph Curry. So you got to trap him. You got to get the ball out of his hands. You got to knock him down every once in a while legally, and try not to get a flagrant one. But if you get a flagrant one, that's okay. Flagrant two is not. But you got to disrupt him. You can't have the same people. That's what the Bucks did wrong in their series against Miami. Butler was going off. And they kept the same guys on him. Sure, Holiday's a great defender, but you need to change it up. Offensive players like routine. If they know who's guarding them, they know how they can attack that certain person. Put somebody else on them. That's what you have to do. Trap them every once in a while. Maybe play a little zone. Maybe you got to shake it up and do something different. Because if you're going to sit back there and watch someone like that, or someone like Curry or Butler, or guys at that level just do their thing, you're not, in my opinion, you're not coaching enough. Sure. Let's take the Golden State series, right? Because I hear people talking about you need to double team Curry, take it out of his hands, which you do at some times. But is it scary for a coach? Yeah, because guess who he's going to pass it to? Klay Thompson, shooting a three, or Andrew Wiggins driving and dunking, or of course it's scary, but is it more scary to watch him go off for 50 and win the game? It's a give and take. And as a coaching staff, you got to have a feel for, okay, maybe in a timeout when he's starting to go off, okay, for the next 3 minutes, whenever Curry comes off a pick and roll, we're going to trap him and get the ball out of his hands and rotate. Hard, fast rotation to Klay, slower rotation to Poole and Wiggins. And you have to practice that, and that's in your scouting report. So, but at the bottom line, I mean, you talk about Embiid, Joker, Giannis, those guys, those MVPs, they're all big guys. They can all score 50 points. But Curry, to me, is harder to guard than all those guys because he gets to the basket. You saw it right there, an N1 flip shot. He does it. He shot I think this is it, maybe. No, but after this, he shot a running hook shot in the paint. Yeah. I mean, and we're not talking about just his 3-point shots, which are phenomenal and deep as you want, and you think you got him guarded, but you don't. And this is the hook shot. Watch this. That's a running hook shot. Come on, man. So he's so hard to guard, and Lakers going to have to come up. Darvin Ham and his staff are going to have to come up with certain schemes to throw him off his game when he gets rolling like this.
Now, as a fan, you love basketball just like we do.
Yeah, I mean, like that play right there, Steph can shoot deep and shoot threes, but he can put a defender on skates, and there's a little pull-up mid-range that we love. You can get to the basket. Who he reminds me of? Probably at a different level, but people might think I'm crazy. But I watched him up close and personal. Steve Nash. Steve Nash could shoot threes. He could get to the basket and have those little flip shots. He was a really good passer. He had a pull-up game. He would taunt players by putting the ball right in front of them and they couldn't touch it and he'd flip it in. So he reminds me a lot of Steve Nash 2.0. He's fun to watch. Like right there, he's looking at that double team. He splits it, and then he does a step back three. Come on, man.
And that guy's on him is 6'8".
He's on him as much as you can without fouling him. You might even foul him. I don't know.
It looked like he fouled him, right?
Yeah. But I mean, you can't guard him any better than that. So, that's why you got to get it. At some points in this series, the Lakers are going to have to get it out of his hands somehow. You know,
I mean, he just threw that in with one hand.
like it's a warm up layup, right?
Right.
And he's always have his cool and he's people don't know this, but I know because I played golf with him and against him, and I do his dad in Charlotte and got to know him. He's one of the most competitive guys. Here, that play though, right there. How can you lose a guy that has 50 on out of bounds play? That's a travesty that player would lose him. And out of bounds with 1.6 left to shoot a three. That was a joke right there. But Steph is one of the most competitive guys on the golf course, off the golf course, and definitely on the court. And with his skill level, you get competitiveness, a will to work, and a drive to win, and you got problems if you're on the other team.
Hey, our man Chris Ramsey's checking in. What's up, Chris?
Hey, Chris.
How you doing, brother? Chris has a question. Hold on, let's get this in here. Hey, Paul, Klay Thompson's foot from his foot injury, is that what slows him down, you think?
Well, I think it slows him down defensively because, as we know, at least before the last injury, and he's had some major injuries, that Klay Thompson was one of the best wing defenders in the league. He's known as one of the, and I think his foot is probably still bothering him. And remember, we talked about being injured and being hurt. Everyone's injured, and you got to decide if you can play or not. And Klay has decided that. So I think it really hurts him on the defensive end, being able to stop players. But I think you're right a little bit, Klay, because if you're a jump shooter, the jump shot starts from the feet up. It starts from the feet up with footwork and balance, and goes through your legs and goes through your body and your upper body, and then your shoulders, and then your release. So if he's having a foot problem, that will affect him. But he missed wide open shots in the first half, and I don't think that has anything to do with the foot. I don't know if he was in a funk or whatever, but he's going to have to come out of it for the Lakers series. I know that.
And like you said, Mo, this is an older team. He's not Klay's not quite the player he was before that injury. And, he missed a lot of time, older. And that's why I totally agree. The Warriors, as you know it, this might be it for them, this run that they're on this time.
Yeah, and I guarantee after that game, Curry, Klay, Draymond, Looney, all had ice wrapped around their whole body on their flight back or bus ride back. Because even falling down by accident like Curry did, when you get older, that's going to hurt you. The good news for them is the Lakers are about as old and injury prone as they are. So it's going to be an interesting series.
and a shout out to Sacramento. Hadn't been in the playoffs in 20 years. It looked like their inexperience showed a little bit to Paul. But all in all, it was a great run for them, a great year for them.
It gives them encouragement. They have young players, they have a great coach, so it gives them encouragement. And also, back when we, the Pistons had to learn how to beat the Celtics, and the Bulls had to learn how to beat the Pistons, and that's kind of that took a few years of failures and losses and series, and there's a learning process. Everything's not automatic now as much as the players want to make it so, because they move around so damn much. They try to chase a ring, but if you do it in a regular process, it's a growing. And not only is it physically, but it's experience and it's knowledge. And they're playing in a Game 7 against former world champions, so that puts a lot of pressure. The crowd was great, but in the long run, absolutely, Ricky, their inexperience showed. And guess who said that at the beginning of the series? Me.
Big Mo. Big Mo knows. Hey, Mo, before we get into and we're going to touch on all these series, folks. But I do want to go back with your connections with the Bucks and how that whole thing turned out as the number one seed, being upset by Miami, and Miami's not your typical 8 seed. I think you would agree with that. But still, there's no doubt in my mind that Milwaukee was the better team. But Jimmy Butler just went off on these guys. Talk about that series, and the injury to Giannis cost him a couple of games. But your thoughts on the Bucks and or maybe not. I see your thoughts on that series. Then we'll go forward.
Well, I think first of all, this year CDs meant nothing. I mean, you know, the Suns aren't a fourth seed, and the Clippers aren't a fifth seed. The Lakers aren't a seventh seed, and the Golden State Warriors aren't a sixth seed. So the seeding, Miami has a good team. They've been there before. They struggled during the season, but they're no schlubs, So the upset is not as big as people think, even though it looks like it. It's not as big as people think. You know,
Staggering and Miami.
Seeds don't mean much this season except in the East maybe. So kind of take that out of the equation. But in my opinion, the roster that the Bucks have had this year should be good enough and talented enough to beat the Miami Heat, even without Giannis. So that's my opinion. And obviously they're a different team with Giannis, but also it's a different dynamic because he takes so many shots and handles the ball a lot. But Jimmy Butler stepped up huge and willed Miami to win that series. But Bam Adebayo, yeah, I mean he had a great series. I mean doubles and 25 points and 12 rebounds, and he had a great series. And Tyler Hero got hurt, and Duncan Robinson stepped up and did a great job. Shoot, in the last game, Lowry stepped up and had 18 points. We forgot he's still on that team. So, Miami's not a bad team. The Bucks should have beat them. I think they let themselves down, losing games at home. And the fall apart in the fourth quarter of that last game was embarrassment to the Bucks organization and the players and coaches on that team. To have a 16-point lead at home, fall apart, look like you're a freaking JUCO team at the end of that thing. No one wants to handle the ball, no one wants to shoot the ball, not even get a shot off to tie the game up, and let them tie it up on a junior high play at the end. That the way that ended, people are going to win series and lose series and move on and all that. And Giannis says it's not a failure just because I said. Yeah, but when you lose a game in a series that way, it is. Sorry, it is.
What do they need to add to that roster, or is it just
they're going to need to tweak the roster, and they're going to possibly have to look at a coaching change because, I hate to say this, but at some point, teams do need a different voice in the locker room. I used to hate that when I was coaching. I've been fired, I've been hired. But at this point, for them to lose like they lost, it's a glaring red flag to me if I'm an owner. Let's face it, Giannis, is looking at his future. So they have to either tweak the roster and maybe the coaching staff and help people held accountable. And I'm going to call him out. Giannis needs to work on his game. Giannis is a former MVP of the league, but he has so many weaknesses in his game. He needs to spend this summer working on his game, not going playing for Greece with his brothers, not doing that. He needs to work on his free throws. I think he missed 12, 14. I don't know how many missed the last game. I mean, you got to work on your free throws. Have someone actually work with you and get a cleaner routine because the free throws are about routine and consistency. You need to do that. You need to get a better pull-up game so you're not charging in there all the time. You can actually save yourself injuries and bumps and bruises if you can pull up and make a shot. You have to work on your three-point shot because it's 20 whatever percent, so inconsistent. And you got to work on your passing when guys are on you. So if I was working with them in the summer, number one, we're going to work on free throws. We're going to work on your pull-up game. And then we're going to work on you going to the basket where I got another 7-foot guy that's athletic on you. I got a coach with a pad hitting you on the arm. And then I'm going to have you see if you can find players that you can kick out to. But, that's one thing.
And he's talented enough to improve in those areas.
No question. But here's the point. I mean, I love his competitiveness. I love that he stayed in Milwaukee instead of jumping ship and going somewhere else. I love that he said, instead of moving around, I want to win with the guys we have. That's awesome. But guess what, Giannis? You got to work on your own game. I mean, Butler took you apart. You were hurt, whatever. But your game is limited. Everyone can see it. Maybe people are afraid to tell you that. But it's not shameful. I mean, when I was in the league, Michael Jordan was a driver, penetrator, slasher, turned into a very good shooter, and then he turned into a low post guy, right? So he worked on his game all through his career. You need to look at doing that.
Yeah. I hear that. I hear that, and I think about Budenholzer. Job is on the line now. He won the title 2 years ago. Nick Nurse,
which as we know means nothing.
I was going to say,
nothing.
Because Nick Nurse won 3 years ago. He got the boot.
It means nothing. Coach of the year means nothing. It's what you do. What have you done for me lately, and what can you do for me in the future? And I'm sorry, and I know our hearts are out to him because his brother passed away after the game before that in a car accident, and his mind was somewhere else, and we understand that. Then damn it, assistant coaches step up and help him out, and to come out and not call a timeout with 8 seconds left, and we talk about that. You got the rebound. Giannis has it in his hands. Great. Let him see if he can create, get to the rim. But if not, you still got 4 or 5 seconds. Call timeout, and his assistant should have helped him with that. And those kind of mistakes, no matter what the circumstance off the court, you can't get past. It's going to be interesting to see what. And they have new ownership, by the way. The Bucks have brand new ownership, so we're going to see what happens. The way they lost in the first round, it would be really not very, very educated for people to think they're not going to make any moves. Well, they got a great coach, one of the top coaches. Great. They have really roster. They won a championship years ago. Great. They have one of the best players in it. Great. But to not make the way you lost and with new ownership, there is going to be moves made, probably in the roster and with the coaching staff.
Hey, Paul, when you hear people say that all the time, the coach has lost his voice. Chuck Daly was a great coach here in Detroit, won 2 championships. He left on his own. He said, they don't listen to me anymore. Larry Brown left. Larry Brown always leaves.
Larry Brown always leaves. Take him out.
But he kind of said the same thing. Is that true? And why is that not the case in college? Because the guys leave?
Well, guys, just look at the
guys are leaving college now, too.
Just look at the transfer portal. There's 2,000 players in there. So that's not true anymore. It used to be true because, like I've said before, in college, the head coach is the face of the program. The head coach has all the power. The head coach makes the decisions about scholarships and who plays. The head coach is the man. In the NBA, the head coach is not the man. The head coach does not make most of the decisions. The head coach doesn't put the roster together. And all the star players in the NBA teams have more power than the head coach in the NBA. That's the truth. I mean, you don't think if Giannis went to the ownership today and said, listen, we need all new coaches, that within a week there'd be all new coaches? Of course they would. And I would say the same with Holiday. I would say the same with Middleton. Not with Lopez, maybe, but maybe. I mean, that's just the facts. You don't think if Steph Curry went to the ownership and said, hey, we can't play for Steve Kerr anymore, that they wouldn't fire Steve Kerr? Of course they would. That's just the fact. I'm not saying that would ever happen, but that's the way the NBA is now. And when you've been with a team, I don't know how long Budenholzer has been there. Probably 8 years, maybe 6, 8.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, but if you're with a team for 5, 6, 8 years, through bad times and good times and championships, but there's all these practices and meetings and video sessions and airplane rides and games and locker room conversations and locker room talks and all of those sometimes add up. at some point, some players are going to say, I don't want to hear this anymore. You know, at least not from you. Sometimes that happens. It's just the nature of the game. I don't know if that's happened um, for sure, but from looking at the way they played in that series and the way they lost, you know, I would say if I was a betting man, I'd say that's probably what's happening.
Mike got there in 2018, so that's 6 years.
6 years. So that's, and if you talk to coaches like that around the 5 or 6 year mark, that's where it starts happening.
Yeah, yeah, and he's a good coach. Nick
Oh, he's
Nurse,
great. No, he's a great coach. He's not a good coach. He's a great coach. But
yeah,
you have to be, like I said a long time ago, when I have training camp and I bring all the players in, say I have 18 players, I got 12 spots. I say I'm not looking for the 12 best players. Sorry, I'm not looking for the 12 best players. I'm looking for the 12 players that make up the best team and gives us a chance to win. That's what I'm looking for. I'm gonna cut some of you that are better players than others because the others fit in more, right? The same with a coach. You're not great coaches, you know, that lose their voice or just don't fit anymore. It doesn't mean they're not great coaches. They're great coaches. Maybe not for this team at this point.
it was really fascinating to to get all this behind the scenes information from you Mo, on how this game works. Because for so many fans, they just see the game when it comes on TV tonight. They'll watch the game, but there's a whole nother world that is existing behind there to get that roster and line up out to center court for that jump ball with a to have a chance to win that game that night.
The old tip of the iceberg, right? You only see 10% of the iceberg above the water. All the rest is under the water.
Yeah.
It's the same with basketball. The game that they're going to play tonight is only the 10% of what the scouting reports that went together, the practices, the video sessions, the trainers trying to get players ready. Guys are hurt; they got to get them ready. The injury report, the coaching staff deciding what are you going to do. We're going to trap. We're going to let them go. We're going to switch. We're going to what are we going to do? We're going to double the post. What offense is best? All that stuff is all the stuff. And then in the back of your mind, you're going, damn, if we don't win this series, we all might not have a job next week. So we better win this series, because we know the general manager's not on our side, or the owner wants to make moves, and he's the guy, the owner that owns Dairy Queens or whatever, and
Right.
if he doesn't like the flavor of ice cream, he's going to change it all. And we're the ice cream, so all that goes on.
Hey Mo, let's get to some of these series. Tipping off tonight. This is an old school rivalry that you know a lot about, and your teams were part of that trifecta: Philly, Boston, Milwaukee back in the day. The Sixers versus the Celtics. They tip off tonight 7:30 in Boston. Uh, it doesn't look like Embiid's going to play tonight. Your thoughts on not only tonight's game but the series? I can't see it. Availability.
That was my word over the last weeks, right? Availability. And
Availability.
unfortunately for Philly, Embiid probably not going to play tonight. They don't know for sure. Obviously he's one of the biggest factors of that team. MVP might even get it. Might be named this week or something. I heard, and he might get it. So obviously that hurts their whole team. But what it does to me is interesting. So let's think outside the box, right? So I'm Doc Rivers and that coaching staff. So we don't have Embiid. So when we play and we're a good team, Embiid touches the ball 60, 70% of the time. He scores and he's a good passer and all that. But guess what? We're a pretty damn slow team when he plays, right? We gotta wait for him to get down the floor. We gotta get him the ball. He's gonna square up. So now, if he's out, we have the horses to go quickly. And what that does, if I'm the coaching staff, I'm saying, you know what? We don't have a Embiid. We have Harden, who's becoming a passer, leading the league in assists. That's good. But we also have this guy called Maxey. Now, he's a super player. He's one of the best young players in the league. And when he has the ball in his hands, he's electric. So I'm going to say, why don't we push the ball with Maxey? Tobias Harris is going to become more of a factor. We're going to involve some of the younger guys with younger legs. And you know what? It's going to be harder to win without Embiid. But guess what? What are the Celtics coaching staff thinking? We just prepared for a series in game one. How are we going to double Embiid? Are we going to trap Embiid? Are we going to try and foul Embiid? What are we going to do with Embiid? That's in their scouting report. And now there's no Embiid. So now we got to decide, are they going to run? Is transition going to become more important? We don't have to worry about traps anymore, right? All this stuff is playing with them. So, I think I have it down as a good series, but I mean, the way the Celtics are playing, how deep they are, Tatum and Brown, in the backcourt, they have Williams, the third back, protecting the rim, and now with Embiid's injury, originally I had to go in 6 or 7. This series might just be 5, and Boston gets through Philly more quickly than I thought. And Philly's not a very deep team either. They have a lot of talent. They have some young players, but they're nowhere. I mean, if you're looking at the Celtics, you got Tatum, you got Brown, you got Marcus Smart, Derek White, and Williams III. Then you got Brogdon, Horford, Grant Williams, Muscala, Blake Griffin, all off the bench. So to me, that puts it a 5, maybe 6-game series with Boston coming out on top and waiting for the winner of the Heat Knicks and being really, really happy that they don't have to face the Bucks in the East Finals.
Absolutely. Our buddy Jared Wallace checks in. It's time for Hard to earn his pay with Embiid out. He needs to step up, as well as Maxey, who you just talked about.
Yeah.
Totally agree with you there, Jared.
Well, Jared, I would caution against that because over the years, Harden was the primary ball handler. He was the leading scorer on all his teams. But this year, to his credit, he's took a more of a back seat, and now he averages 11 assists a game, which leads the league. So he's morphed into more of a passer than a scorer. Now, he can score at times, but I would caution him and Philly to say, okay, hey, guess what? We need 35 from you tonight, because that ain't going to happen. So Maxey, Tobias Harris, those guys are the ones I would push to. They're going to get more minutes and they're going to handle the ball more. Those are the guys I would push to step up. And Harden, you keep doing what you've been doing and be more of a distributor now, because you have Harden. If Harden starts dribbling 20 times and step back, 8-foot step, eight step backs and doing all that stuff, and Maxey and those guys are just standing around going, what do we do now? Derek might get swept out of this series. So I would caution against Harden stepping up in the scoring.
But even with Embiid out, you wouldn't want him to push it a little bit?
A little bit, but I'm not. No, I mean, he's averaging 21 points a game.
Right.
21 points a game, 6 rebounds, 11 assists. So great. You're going to get some more shots because Embiid is out. So, that 21 turns into 25. We don't need 40 from you. We don't need that. We don't need 40. Sure, you're going to get more shots because Embiid's out. That's only natural. So is everybody. But I would say, hey, it's time for you to step up. Let's get back to scoring. I would err along the let's see if we can get guys involved early, and then we'll see how it goes in the second half. And then, if it comes down to it, we need some big shots, then you need to be there for it.
Yeah, and I think Jared's thinking along the lines with you. Not so much scoring, but strong overall. What I don't want to see is jacking up shots.
Yeah. The problem is, Jared, that Harden's one of the worst defenders I've ever seen in the history of the NBA.
Come on, man.
So he is, man. Come on, you see the clips. He was standing there, don't know where his man is. So unfortunately, he can't step up defensively. Now he can step up rebounding wise because he's a guy that's averaged 10 rebounds a game, even though he's older. But mix it up and hey, instead of your 6 rebounds, we need you. Let's get up to that 10 again, and instead of 11 assists let's see if we can get that up to 15 or something, and now we got a chance. So it'll be interesting. It's gonna be an interesting game.
Hey, going back to Steph for a minute, I'm with you, Chris. How about Steph Curry missing both free throws in a game yesterday? And that was kind of early on. I'm saying, oh man, they're not going to win. Steph's out here missing free throws.
Yeah, that's
he kind of made up for that.
It surprised me too. But here's what goes through a guy's mind. Let me put this in your mind. So Steph's a very good free throw shooter, right? I don't know, it's 80% or whatever. So now early in the game, he's missing free throws, and what he says is, "Damn it, get your head together, get focused, get in this game. Can't miss those easy free throws," and that might get his engine going. Yeah. So he gets fitty.
Fitty.
You got fitty.
Jared is right. He said, "I already lost sports with me if he can't play defense." Rick knows how I roll when it comes to defense and hustle. That is Jared for sure.
I don't think I played with many. Maybe on my bad teams, maybe in Cleveland early on or somewhere. Hey, you know what? I got 25. Yeah, but the guy guarding you got 30. The guy you were guarding got 30.
Absolutely. But your thoughts beyond tonight in this series, Mo?
Well, like I said, Philly's not going to win the series without Embiid. And it's somewhat healthy. He's not going to be 100%. Most guys playing right now aren't 100% that play at that level. Starters. Role guys can be 100%, but most starters in the playoffs right now, they played 82 games. Now they played another 10 or 12, whatever, 8, whatever. They're not healthy, but Embiid has to be healthy enough where not only to score, but he's a really good passer. And he can rebound and block shots. He needs to be physically healthy enough to do that. Not at the highest level, probably, because it's going to take time. I don't know what his injury is, but if he doesn't come back, it could be a sweep or a gentleman's sweep. But even if he does come back and he's not, if he's not in the 80% healthy wise, it could be a gentleman's sweep. The more I look at this series, Boston's on a roll. They got focused. They have every position covered. Tatum and Brown are two of the most dynamic backcourt in the league, and they have home court. So I was excited to see this series before all this, and hopefully that they would face the Bucks and beat each other up. But I don't think that's going to happen. But you never know. I mean, the NBA now, Boston falls asleep and gives away one of the first 2 games, and now crazy things can happen. So I'm interested to see how Philly plays tonight. Do they play more up-tempo? Do they attack the rim more? It's going to be interesting because it's going to give Boston a different look if they don't have Embiid.
Now, I read that Embiid did take part in shoot-around today. Does that tell you anything? I know what you think about shoot-arounds.
He put his shoes on. He shot a couple of shots, and then he went back along with them. That's what he did. So, I mean, in my day, even if you weren't going to play and you could hardly walk, Nelly would have you out there at shoot-around, because then the other team's going, well, we got to prepare for him. So and so is going to play tonight, but knowing very well that guy's not going to play tonight. So that's a mental trick you can use. I don't know if coaching staffs and teams are wily enough or smart enough to do that anymore. But if you're the Celtics, you are preparing for Embiid to play. You can't get fooled by that either. That's been done too before. I mean, at shoot around, your best player is limping all over the place. And guess who sees that? The coaching staff, the scouts. Damn, he's hurting. And then he comes in the game and he ain't got no limp. He's brand new.
When you were talking about coaches losing their voice and their influence, I thought about Trae Young and Nate McMillan and that whole shoot-around thing. When Trae broke the rule. If you don't play, come to shoot-around. If you don't take part in shoot-around, you can't play.
It's not Nate's rule. It's the team rule.
It's the team rule.
It's the team rule. It wasn't even Nate's rule.
And it's no coincidence. 3 weeks later, he was gone. 2 weeks later, he was gone.
Absolutely, no question. People don't understand how the NBA works. They see it as this entity and this thing, and it doesn't work that way. I mean, you could let's rewind a little bit. The Kings Warriors game. I didn't really notice it during the game, but it's been pointed out how Poole has been acting in the huddles and to some of his teammates is not in the best manner. And in my opinion, in the last series, or in the series early on, when I watched him on the bench, he wasn't playing as much, and he was acting kind of goofy, and I think he egged Draymond Green on a little bit, and I don't know, that stuff plays in the 7-game series that it comes to the forefront, and there's a lot of different things that go on behind the scenes that people don't see that play into the ability to win a series or lose a series.
Hey, Chris just asked this question. You think Philly can beat the Heat if they happen to meet up?
That's if the Heat wins, right?
Right.
Which, Chris, I think they will because they're on a roll, and the Knicks with Randall out are struggling. So I think the Heat, if Embiid is healthy, sure, it would be a good series. But if Embiid's still impaired, I think it would be, it'd be a good series either way. But what I think is going to happen is Boston's going to win in 4 or 5, at the most 6, and then Boston series against Miami, if Miami wins, maybe go 6, maybe.
Hey, here's from Jerry. Good info, Coach Moore. I have to get back to work. Plus, watch the video of today's lunchtime basketball. A few guys were playing defense, and I need to get called out again on Wednesday.
hey, nobody plays defense at lunchtime, man.
Only Jared. Jared actually did. That's why I always wanted on my
team. Did he? Then Jared, you're the guy I would pick on my team every time. I want you on my
Absolutely.
team. Especially if you pass the ball to me, too.
Thanks for checking in, Jared. We certainly appreciate you, brother. That's for sure. Let's get to the other game tonight. And game 2 tonight, Denver and Phoenix. Mo, I was surprised at how easily Denver handled Phoenix the other night. And Chris Paul he looks 37, 30. LeBron does not look 38. He's the LeBron of 28, but he still is a athletic, physical guy. And maybe that's because he's 6'9", 250. But Chris just could not keep up with Devin Booker.
Yeah, I mean, and there's no excuses or everything, but if you watch the games, you see the numbers on the free throw line, right? That are etched in the free throw line.
Yeah.
It's the elevation of Denver. It's high altitude. That's what those numbers are. It's the altitude of Denver, mile high. So, they want to remind you all the time. And guess what? If you're older like Chris Paul and guys like that's going to affect you more. And, in the long run. And I think I talked about this the other day, I think. When I played in altitude, if you're in the NBA, if you can't get to the Denver at least 3 days before to get used to it, it's better just to come the day of the game and just fight through it. That's what my recollection was, and I think they came a day and a half before anyway. So that'll have an effect, and also, Denver's been a good team all year. Murray is back, obviously, and guess who stepped up? Caldwell Pope and Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon, they both stepped up big, and Michael Porter Jr. So, you got Murray and you got the Joker, and then those guys step up. You're going to be a tough out. It really surprised me how easily they beat the Suns, though. But we said this all along, right? When they made that trade to get KD, they got one of the best starting 5 in the league. Chris Paul, Booker, KD, Ayton, and then Mikal Bridges. So that's one. But they don't have not much of a bench, and that's going to hurt them in a 7-game series. I would hope they'd show some more fight in game 2, though. You know.
Hey Mo, what is it about running around in the Mile High as a player? Do you remember? I mean,
well, you can't breathe. I mean, when you're playing there, and back when I played, Denver Nuggets were a running gun team. With Dan Issel, Tiki Vanderway, and Fats Lever. All they were running gun.
Who was the coach? Coach Mo?
I think Mo was the coach. I think, or
George Mo, yeah.
Yeah, but they were running guns, so you coming in there knowing, hey, and the best players on your team, they know they're going to score 30 or 40, but you're going to have to run, and you got to keep up with them, and you get to run out of breath. I mean, I remember one. I think Brian Winters had 40, and Sidney Moncrief had 35, and somebody else had 40, but they had guys the same way. And I remember during that game, in late in quarters, refs are calling fouls that aren't fouls, and I'm like, that wasn't a foul. And the refs like, I know, I just had to catch my breath. So I mean, it's you try to put it on your mind, but obviously Denver look at the free throw line when you watch the game. That's what those numbers are, and they have that in the locker room. They have it in the hallway. You're at Mile High level now. Here's oxygen if you need it. That plays in your head.
Wow. How do you see this series?
I would think even though Denver handled them, easily, even if they handle them easily this game, I can see Phoenix going back to Phoenix and winning 2 in Phoenix, right? Because you got KD, you got Booker. Chris Paul plays better at home as long as he stays healthy. Ayton needs to step up and rebound more like Looney does. But I can see them winning 2 in Phoenix and come back tied up to Denver. So I still see this series as going 7.
7 games, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you there, Mo. 7-game series there. And going back to the East, the Knicks, I tell you, it was fun to hear the Garden rocking. Man, it's been a while, Paul, since they've had some excitement at the Garden. And the place was rocking until Jimmy Butler got going again. And the Heat are on a roll. And think about it. They lost their first play-in game, I think, to Atlanta.
Yeah.
Since that game, they have really kicked it into gear.
And actually, they remind me of a team a few years ago, Atlanta, that did the same thing, right?
Yeah.
They got on a roll late, and then, they got on a roll at the right time. Miami's in the same situation, and Atlanta ended up losing to Milwaukee, but, they're in the same boat. And there's so much talent in the NBA. It's true. When you get on a run and guys get confident on knocking down shots, and, you kind of feel like we're going to win this game no matter what, you can go on a long run, and this is the right time for Miami. Remember early on in the year, I picked Miami to do well, and then halfway through, I'm like, what happened to Miami? Well, we're finding out that they have talent, and they can play, they have a good coach, and that they're doing damage, and they're on a roll at the right time. Now, the Knicks with Brunson and Barrett, they got a great, backcourt, and Josh Hart, they're playing well, but they might not even win a game unless Julius Randle can play. And, his ankle was turned, so that's availability. So, I was looking for, a better series, but if Randall's not back. But again, this is just one game. Now,
and Butler kind of turned his ankle a little bit.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I got a feeling he's going to be on the court. I mean, he is quite a competitor, Mo.
And how about Love stepping up at 107 with his gray hair?
Yeah, but I remember that trade. You liked that trade when they got him.
Yeah, he picked up a veteran guy that's been there and didn't accept his role. and continue to shoot, can rebound, do a lot of things, and he's filling that role right now at the perfect time. That was a great pickup by them.
Yeah, and Lowry's playing solid basketball. Guy who knows about winning.
They also picked up Zeller, a serviceable big, and they got Martin off the bench, who's a 6'8" athletic guy, and then Strauss can shoot the ball, and he's got a kind of edge to him, right? You know, and you know that makes him dangerous. And Bam Adebayo is playing great. I mean, they're on a roll at the right time, and they're meeting the right team, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I mean they're meeting the right team at the right time. You know, quite frankly, I think the Cavs might have been a better matchup for the Heat. So they were pretty happy to see the Knicks beat the Cavs in their coach's room, I'll tell you that.
Were you surprised they dispatched Cleveland 4-1? I was.
Yeah, but then we talked about it, right?
John.
Immature. They're immature. They have some good young talent. They're not very deep, and they don't have any experience. That's a chemistry for disaster right now, you know. But hopefully they'll add a couple pieces and get deeper and mature, you know. But you know anything can happen to them when you run against a team that's on a roll.
Speaking of immature, we hadn't been on since the Lakers closed that series out against Memphis, but that's the most immature basketball team I've seen in a while.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, you know, selling, what do they call it? Selling wolf tickets? That's what we call it. I mean, you're talking the talk, but you've never walked the walk, or are you walking the walk? I mean, it's just so, it's so young mentality, right? Everything has to be immediate. You don't have to work for it. You should be able to talk trash no matter what. You know, you should poke the bear and tell the Warriors the dynasty is over and we're the dynasty when you haven't even won a series yet. You know, all that stupid stuff that came up just killed them. And, you know, Steven Adams being out, and they had another player that was out, one of the third leading scorers. Yeah, so that had, but in the long run, you're gonna collapse in the first round of playoffs next year unless you grow up. You need to grow up. You know, Dylan Brooks, grow up. John Morant, grow up. And I don't know if they will grow up unless coaching staff or some veteran player or someone starts holding them accountable and telling you know what, we should probably work more and talk less. How about that? We need less of this and more of that. That's what we need. That's what I told players that. That's what less of this, more of this, and listen.
Yeah. Steve showed I'm late, still crying Bucks.
So long, man.
Mo kind of touched on that, and there are going to be some consequences for that, losing that series, you think, right, Mo?
I think there's going to be roster changes and more than likely coaching changes, and I hope they don't do what most NBA teams do. When they struggle, they let go of a couple assistant coaches that had nothing to do with what was going on. So if they're going to make coaching changes, you know, and I'm not advocating this, I don't want to lose a job, but if you're going to make a coaching change, make a coaching change, and that means the head coach.
Yeah. Hey, Mo, we are running out of time. A couple other things I want to run. Well, one thing I want to get your thoughts on the Lakers Golden State series. Two of the greatest players of this era, and LeBron's been in a couple of eras now. Your thoughts on that series? The Lakers so surprised by how because usually you don't turn a season around after a trade. That's a rarity to see that, isn't it?
Unless it's the right trade. And I talked years about Westbrook is not a fit. He doesn't fit in with what's going on. So that was getting better by elimination of somebody. And then they made some trades to get some younger role players that will accept their roles and are better defenders and shoot better. So, you know, so Dennis Schroeder stepping up and doing his thing. Austin Reeves is having a phenomenal year. Love his play. D'Angelo Russell is like this. He's up and down. He give you 30 and they give you 7. So that's a big question mark. But that was a good move to bring him on. I would rather have him on my team than Westbrook. So LeBron is LeBron. AD is AD if he's healthy. They picked up Vanderbilt, Hachimura, and Beasley, who are great role players. So they're a better team. And I think I saw a stat. They're like, since the trade, they're like 25-4 or something since that trade.
Yeah.
So they're on a roll. However, if you're looking at the series, I'm looking at the Warriors' last dance. That's what I'll call it. And with Curry, Clay, Poole, Draymond Green, Looney, DiVincenzo, Kuminga, Wiggins, Peyton III, they got healthy. I think they're deeper than the Lakers. But it's going to come to who steps up and who's available. If AD stays healthy and plays the way he can play, I might give the edge to the Lakers. But right now it's a toss-up and maybe the edge to the Warriors. So it's going to be an interesting series.
Probably 7 games.
Yeah, and here's what could happen. Here's what could happen. When do they play? Tomorrow?
Tomorrow night, yeah.
That could be a blowout. The Lakers could blow them out by 30. Easy. Because the Warriors just got off a 7-game, game 7. They went through all that. The Lakers have been resting, and now the Warriors go into LA and try to step up. But they know, what happens? You win games.
The Lakers are going to San Francisco.
Oh, they're going to San Francisco, so that helps them because they play better. But what happens in the series is battle this series, you battle. We're down 2, we're up 1. Now we won the series in game 7, and now we go down to game 1, and the importance of game 1 doesn't seem that much important to you anymore, right? You just have to do it done, and now you got game. You know what? If we lose this game, we'll win game 2. No problem. But you know what? I was wrong. It's in Golden State, so a blowout is less likely for the Lakers. But I wouldn't be surprised. They could win by 10, 15. You don't know.
I think both those teams can win on each other's home court.
Oh, for sure.
Because with the veterans they had.
Yeah. Well, I think like the Warriors, the worst road record in the league, but then step up and win 2 in Sacramento. So, maybe they got that. Maybe they're eating the right pregame meal or getting the right warm-up or watching the right tape before the road games now.
Steve says, I think it'll be Nuggets versus Boston.
Could be. I think Boston, for sure, now that my beloved Bucks are out. And Denver definitely could win. But I wouldn't be past. I don't think the Lakers can beat Denver, but I think Golden State can. Could.
Hey Mo, before we get out of here, and terrible news for Oakland A's fans, and you played in the Bay Area, you know that area very well. The A's are heading to Vegas to join the Raiders there, giving your town NFL, NHL, Major League Baseball franchises, plus a WNBA franchise. And you have been saying this for a couple of years now. It's only a matter of time before the NBA. Does that just make you even more sure when you see the A's coming?
Well, actually not. I think that deters a little bit because to support a baseball team, there's 81 home games. Hockey, basketball, there's 41. NFL, there's 10,
8 or 9.
8 or 9. I don't know if Vegas is a big enough market to support 81 home games. However, especially with a bad team, right? They're bad, right? So, but someone pointed it out to me that people here are going to buy season tickets to see the other teams. The Dodgers, the Angels, the Reds, the whatever they are, to see the other teams. And we're a destination city, so if the Milwaukee Brewers come and play the A's, they're going to have fans come and stay for the 4 days and enjoy Vegas. So, the thing is, the deal's not done yet. What was done was a commitment to buy the land which is it's kind of a triangle between Allegiant Stadium and the arena. So it's kind of a unique area. They've already cleared it out. I bet it was by there yesterday. But it's not a done deal with the team. I don't think. Pretty much it is. But it was funny because on the news last night, there was people went to the game in Oakland, A's game, and protested the A's leaving. About 50 people, and our camera in Vegas scanned the rest of the crowd and said, that's interesting, but there's only 11,000 people at the game. That's not a good,
No. So, we'll keep an eye on that, Mo. It is another fast-paced hour, man. We certainly appreciate everybody's questions and comments. People, go back to work, everybody. Y'all been goofing off the last hour with us. We really appreciate it.
Invite some friends for next week for sure.
Absolutely. For Big Mo, Paul Mokeski, I'm Rick Hampton. We'll see you next Monday. We'll probably be at our regular time next Monday and have a lot to talk about. Take care, everybody. Peace.
Peace out.